Hello, it's me, and we're going to continue our journey through the supercuboids by exploring now the 3x3x4. We did the 3x3x2 last time. I'm showing you 3x3x3, but we're going to skip that and go to the 3x3x4, which is the next step up for cuboids. And we're going to do that with another similar one as the 3x3x2, which is a fissured version of this. So you can see that they're really similar puzzles. 4 layers, 1, 2, 3, 4. Only this time it's fissured, which means these are our middles over here, centers, edges if you're doing it layer by layer, and we have our corners over here. In this case, it's really different from what you'd think. Instead of these being middles and these being corners, it works like this, so it's offset like so. This is once again Rafael work. Again, another fantastic hand mod. I'm going to be highlighting a lot of his stuff. So let's see what happens if we translate the techniques that we learned for supercuboid strategy that we did with the 3x3x2 in the previous video with the 3x3x4. So let's see what this looks like when we scramble it. So you can see the face clearly moving here. This face is just skewed a little bit, so it's off center over here, just like all fissures. So I'm going to continue scrambling, and I just want to show the motion of the puzzle. Really well put together. All of Rafael's puzzles are really fun to use. And as we're doing this, we're going to scramble this one too. So, double abracadabra. Okay, very good. So when doing these, what I'm going to do is show you what happens when I try to solve the supercuboid just like a cuboid and see what kind of pitfalls and pratfalls we run into. Now with the 3x3x2, when doing domino puzzles like this, it's really just a matter of building it up from the middle on outwards. So every one of these components has a complementary side, so a complementary layer rather. So in other words, this layer here, its complementary layer is over here. These mix with each other. This never comes up here, obviously. So this is like a 3x3x2, and then this over here is like a 3x3x2. So I just saw them both as such. But there's a little difference now, because when I've put all of this in, this 3x3x2 has to contend with issues with the 3x3x2 middle layer that you just solved. And as such, some of them will cause placement parities with that. I've described before how to deal with it, but just to go through it really quickly, the first thing to do when dealing with this middle 3x3x2 layer is I have to make sure the centers are correct. So here's green. What comes right next to green? Well, I'm going to use the layers on the top or the bottom to decide that. So if I see green over here, I can see oranges on this side. Now you could just memorize that, but why do that? We're problem solving. So here's this, and then you just kind of follow suit with the other corners. So if this is orange, then blue's on the other side. We already have blue, so the only color that's left over is red. And there it is. So these centers are fine. Now we're going to do the same style of corner swapping in order to bring it from the top to the bottom, because we're going to be bringing whatever is up here that belongs down here down to here while solving this layer. So this is already in. What I need is the orange and green. Orange and green. Here's an orange and green, but this belongs up here. I know this because if I flip this down to here, these two will flip and it'll be opposite. So that one doesn't belong there. If I don't see it up here yet, I move on. Green and red. Green and red here, and this is the correct one because this is going to flip. So this green will end up here, this red will end up here. That's going to be 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. So you can see this is here, red and blue. I'm going fast because I've been through this before. If you want me to slow down, let me know, or I can point you to the tutorial on this. This will come down here, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. So you can see we've filled in this layer over, whoop, not quite yet. I was too hasty. So this one comes down here, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. So we're good with this layer. This one is exactly like the 3x3x2. I'm looking for a side that has both corners in, and that's over here. Because of that, I know that the blue is over here due to the law of cubes, and I'm going to do a corner swap, which will put this here and this here. Now understand, I'm not really just corner swapping these. Remember, what I'm doing is I'm 3 cycling. So what this algorithm will do is this will stay the same. This will come here, this will come here, and this will come here. So these 2 reds are going to end up over here. So that corner swapping algorithm, or I should say that 3 cycling algorithm, 2R U, 2R UI, 2R. Then we'll turn the whole puzzle counterclockwise, 2R UI, 2R U, 2R. Now if I were to turn it back, you would see that I didn't really swap, because this stayed the same, this ended up over here. But if I hold it here, it appears like they swapped, and this is back over here. But we'd have to turn it back here and see that all these are in. Now we just do edge swapping. These 2 will swap with each other, so I can put the red one in, 2RU, 2RU, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2RU, 2R, UI, 2R. I like the 3x3x4 because it's a pretty quick solve, pretty portable puzzle. These 2, again, it may seem like we're just swapping these 2, but we're actually causing a rotation on the center. 2RU, 2RU, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2RU, 2R, UI, 2R. Okay, so we have our middle layer. Now the top and the bottom is solved exactly like the 3x3x2 that you've seen. So if we were to continue to follow suit, this belongs over here. So bump it out of the way for the moment. Casten it out by bringing this up, turn this in, and bring it down. So we've got that over here. So come over, turn, 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 bringing this down. And finally this, turn, turn, turn. So we have our cross at the bottom, and then we just fill these guys in as we did before. Okay, putting the white ones in here, 2R U, 2R UI, 2R. Now notice when I'm doing that, I'm creating placement parity here each time. Now before, I didn't have to worry about that when it was just a 3x3x2, but because I've thrown this in here, there's these placement parities, and the hope is that they'll all sort themselves out by the end. But I'm going to keep it in this position and put all the white ones in with this center facing, with these edges facing in this side here. So this will move down to here, 2R U, 2R UI, 2R. So we're good, and that put that placement parity back. So now this is going to come to here. Blue, yellow, and white comes here. 2R U, 2R UI, 2R. Creating placement parity here, and it just so happens we did fine with this. Okay, so that's all in. These all seem to be doing fine. Do the top layer, same way. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for 2 corners that are in. If I don't find any, I just randomly do a corner swap. Because we can predict what's going to happen. What's going to happen is this will come over to here, this will come here, and this will come here. So these 2 will end up over here, but this predictably, when it comes here, this green one will be facing this. So by doing this quote corner swap, I'm going to end up with both of my greens, green corners in, basically. Both my green corners will be facing out. Both of my green corners will be lined up. So we'll go ahead and do that. 2R U, 2R UI, 2R, UI DI. This remains steady. This moves. 2R UI, 2R U, 2R, and promise this has to move back. We see that our greens are in. So that gives you a little bit more insight as to what's going on. And then we just do it again here, moving this so that it's lined up with this guy here. 2R U, 2R UI, 2R, UI DI, 2R UI, 2R U, 2R, and back. So everything is fine. Okay, in this particular case we have an opposite edge swap, so we'll do that. And if this were just a 3x3x2, it would be done, but every time we do an edge swap anywhere, it's going to cause middle placement parity. Anytime we do edge swaps, 2R to U, 2R to U, 2R to U. And we've got that infamous placement parity almost done except for these. Well, that's no problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just cycle these two with a parity algorithm. Now, the problem here is that both of these are going to end up swapping with each other. So if these were one and the same, it's like we're doing a single swap. So the question is, when I put these in, it appears that just these two are swapping and that's it. And maybe that is all that's happening. But what we would do in this step is we'd hold it over here to where this is to the left, this is to the right, do the algorithm to U, to R, to F, to U, to U, then to F, to R, to U, and we're pretty much done. So that's it. Now, let's go ahead and solve the cuboid version of this exactly the same way and see what problems that we run into with this. What I'm going to do is start off once again with the middle layer. Now with the middle layer, bear in mind, even though these look like they're centers, and these are edges rather, and these are corners, it's actually coordinated like this, so we have to keep that in mind. I'm going to coordinate it with a center here. So in this center, we have to have two of the blues, looks like the normal blues, facing each other. So in other words, this over here. So I have to get the other blue here. But I have to bear in mind the dark blue is going to be on this side, and the light blue is going to be on this side. So this is the correct one. This normal blue and light blue, so this is correct. So the other blue one is going to be looking like this with the dark blue on the other side, but not this one because it's facing the wrong way. Do I have it up here? I do. So just move it in, so bang. So this is right, this is right. Now I need the other dark blue. You can see it matches up with the center here. And the other dark blue is going to have this green on the other side, which is this color pattern, but not this piece. It's going to be this one. So move it here, and we're good. Now the other green with the light blue colors, you can see it's over there. So far no real differences. I actually have all of my centers. The only difference is that I had to coordinate the centers because the center has two colors instead of one. So there you have it. Now, corner placement. These are corners, it's placed the same way. So I'm looking for the blue, which is over here. Hold it over here. This is my right here, so we have 2R U, 2R UI, 2R, and it's in. So far this doesn't behave any differently than a normal cuboid. It's not a supercuboid. I don't see the other blue one here, so I must have two, so we're going to skip that. This green goes here, 2R U, 2R UI, 2R, we're good. Now we have ourselves a dark blue, 2R U, 2R UI, 2R. Good, good. Light blue right over here. 2R U, 2R UI, 2R. So we have this side in, we'll just correlate it with the center here. Good, good. So far this strategy is not any different from the normal cuboid. So for the top, what I'm going to be looking for is, once again, I'm going to be looking for two edges that are in. You can see the centers are all fine, but we're not looking for the center. So what I'm going to do is I see this green one is in, but I'm going to look for two corners that are lined up. So this is good, not good, not good. So by all intents and purposes, what I want to do is I want to swap these two. This to here, this to here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that corner swapping algorithm, even though I know it's not an actual corner swap. But it doesn't matter, because after I do that and everything is put in where I anticipate it to be, I could do the turn and have everything in, which I couldn't do if I had it up at the centers, because when I turned the centers, I turned it off. If you're not following quite what I'm saying, look at the previous tutorial of the supercuboid with the 3x3x2, and you'll see what I mean. But in any case, let's go ahead and pretend like we're two-cycling this, because we can still live with that illusion. And that's 2R U, 2R UI, 2R, move the whole puzzle counterclockwise, 2R UI, 2R U, and 2R. Now the key here is to make this work, to keep the illusion going, is I have to turn this like this. Now understand, if I had centers that were supercuboid centers, in this case orientation wouldn't mean anything. In this case it does. But when I turn it back, all of these corners are now in. So now it's just a matter of getting the centers in, and we're doing this just the way we did with the normal cuboid. So where's the green and blue? It's right here. So I'm just going to do an adjacent edge swap. 2R U, 2R U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. Okay, so these are all in. I just have to adjacent swap these guys, and we'll be done with the middle layer. 2R, U, 2R, U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. Okay, so we have our middle layer here, so it's just a matter of getting the top and the bottom. Or is it? Well, we're going to do it the way we did it with the 3x3x2. I have to do it because I have to do it in such a way to where the conformation of these centers has to be maintained. So this and this have to be facing each other, and we'll see what we have. So I'm going to put the centers in of the bottom first. This doesn't belong here. This one does, but it's down here, so we're going to move this up to here. But why don't we put in the green and light blue, which is one of these guys, probably this one. So move it out of the way so that I can cast this up here. Bring it across and bring it down. So you can see this is lined up well. Now I know that the one that I just brought up goes to here, and that's this one. So bring this up, move this in, and bring it down. So now that's okay. Okay, this one is going to be this center over here, dark blue, regular blue. Bring this up, move the correct one in, and bring it down. So we're good over here. Lastly is this one, which wants this one over here. Bring it up, turn, and bring it down. So we have all the centers correctly placed. Now we're just going to put the edges in the same way we did with this. So far, this supercuboid has absolutely no difference in terms of strategies. So I'm looking for the green edge, center rather, no, corner, don't find it there. How about the light blue? Any light blue will do, this one. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. Now so too, I'm dealing with placement parity here, but here's a difference now. You can see the corners, just like the corners here, have placement parity, but the centers in between the corners also rotated with it too. Didn't have to worry about that before because they didn't have two colors. This one does. So I'm going to do the same thing, keep this lined up exactly the same way. Here's the green. Now I've got a green to put down here, and that will fix this. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. So we're good over here. And now we've got, well, we'll put this one down here. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. Put that in there, creating placement parity. So I'm going to put this one here. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. So once again, we have our first three layers. So far, so good. No differences. Now, putting this layer over here is going to be something of a potential problem. I can't do it the same way I did the first two layers here. I have to do it like I did my 3x3x2. The reason being is I can't move the corners around and do that pretend corner swap, because if I do that, I'm going to not match up my centers anymore. So I'm going to put my centers here so that they're coordinated with where they're supposed to be. But I can't move the corners from side to side like that, or else I'm going to end up not matching my centers. In other words, I have no way of swapping this without changing my centers. So I have to do the edges first, and then basically bat the corners from one side to the next. So I'm going to see how many of these are in. Well, this is in where it needs to be. This is in where it needs to be. This guy needs to come over here, and this needs to come over here. So I have to do an adjacent edge swap. But here's the problem. If I do that adjacent edge swap, I'm going to create parity here. Well, why don't I just get out of it the same way I got out of this? See if we can. So we're going to go ahead and do the adjacent edge swap between these two. 2R, U, 2R, U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. Now normally I wouldn't be doing this until the last steps with this, but I have to do it now. And what we see is, well, as predicted, the adjacent edge swap not only caused parity here, it also caused this to turn by 180 degrees. So if this is turned by 180 degrees, doing another swap should be able to line things up better. This needs to be here, and this needs to be here. These need to be swapped, but these two need to be swapped. So what I'm going to do is when I do an opposite edge swap, these are going to swap, but this is going to rotate by 180 degrees too. So every bit of swapping that I do with the edges will rotate my center by 180 degrees. So if you can imagine, maybe I'll swap these two, but this is going to turn with it, so they'll still be off by 180 degrees. But these two will be in. These two will be in because this will, once again, turn 180 degrees. So that property will not help these two, but it will help these two. So here's what I mean. 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U. Fixes this, and as promised, these guys are not fixed, but these two are still off. So what I need to do in order to bring this in place is move it over here, doing another adjacent edge or opposite edge swap. These will swap, but this will turn 180 degrees to follow these two edges. And these will stay stationary. These won't move at all, but because this will have turned 180 degrees, these will be all lined up and everything will be fine. So 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, and it worked. Worked quite well. So everything is lined up over here. So now we just have to, we've got this. Well, no problems, right? Basically, this situation is the same situation as when we had these guys out over here. The only difference is that the center rotation also means something too. So what happens if I do that parity algorithm in order to fix this? Well, in this case, it just cleanly swapped these two and we were done. So we'll go ahead and try it. Holding it like this, remember this is our F face, R face, L face. We'll do a 2U, 2R, 2F, 2U, and then 2U, 2F, 2R, 2U, and it did it. Except over here. I hope you can see this. Well, but these two are now rotated by 180 degrees. So these are actually wrong. They're actually not rotated, they got flip-flopped. Now I'll tell you that same thing actually happened here. When you did the parity algorithm over here, it did swap these two. This didn't, this swapped with it, but this also rotated by 180 degrees too, because that fit with the law of cubes. It basically retained the proper swaps. But even though these two swapped, you didn't notice and you didn't care because they're the same color. Here, you did notice. So now we're stuck. We can't use that same algorithm, so how do we get out of this? Well, the whole key to this is there an algorithm that once I see this will cleanly swap that? Or should I have done a different algorithm completely given that this is a supercuboid? Well, in this particular case, I don't want to learn any new algorithm. So instead we're going to anticipate this and use a different kind of a strategy. So let's get this parity back so that we can put everything back on the right side. 2U, 2R, 2F, 2U, 2U, 2F, 2R, 2U. Okay, so I got it back to this scenario so that we can decide how best to proceed with this, because obviously we don't want to do the same parity algorithm because it'll cause rotation here. So the whole key, rather than think of a new algorithm, let's think of a strategy where basically what I need to do is I need to swap these centers, but I want to do it in a way that minimizes any damage from this side. Can I do it in a way that maintains everything on the bottom and just causes minimal changes over here to recalibrate the puzzle? So what I'm going to do is with this over here, bump this out of the way so that I can bring it down to here. So it's going to be a U, 2F, UI, 2F. And that's all I had to do because now that brought that down over here and this is minimized. So it was really just a U, 2F, UI 2F. So that's a simple commutator. And when designing strategies, it's those commutators that could save the day. So now that I've done that, what you can see is these two corners are fine, they're in. So I'm just going to do a corner swap. So after doing that simple commutator, still holding it here, I'm going to go ahead and do a corner swap of these two. And I'm only going to be moving this layer here. And that's going to be 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R, UI, D, 2R, UI, 2R, U, 2R. And this, of course, moves back. So what that did is that put all the corners in, and what I like about this is one of my centers are in and 3 are not, one of my edges rather, which means that I'm going to have a nice little 3 cycle here. So moving it over here, what I can do is take this edge, move it here with an opposite edge swap. 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U. So that's in, and all I have to do is holding this exactly where it is so that I don't mess up the top and the bottom. Move this over here, and then go ahead and do an adjacent edge swap. 2R, U, 2R, U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, U, 2R, UI, and 2R. So that basically gets that back. So that's how I minimize the motion. So on your supercube, your 3x3x4 supercuboid, that's how you can do that. Just do that simple commutator. It'll keep this where it is and just put in the second layer here. And what you're going to find is that your centers are still fine. So now we take the last step, which is putting in the corners, and I'm going to do it exactly the same way that I did with the 3x3x2. I'm going to turn it, we'll actually line this up to the proper centers here. I'm going to turn it upside down and start putting these corners in from the top to the bottom. So this belongs down here. Every time I do this algorithm, the centers will not change. These will shift a little bit, but that's okay. According to the law of the cubes, it has to work out. So I'm going to shift these two, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. This is where it needs to be. This is up in the ready position to go where it needs to be. It did swap these two, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So move this in place and go ahead and do it again. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R brings that in. This is up in ready position. This has to come down to here. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. So this is fine. And finally, this has to come in to the proper place down here, and that should fix it. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. And what do you know? It's solved. So 3x3x4 Supercuboid Fisher Supercuboid is solved, made by Rafael. Again, if anybody is interested in his work, I'll post a link to it. If anyone's interested in this particular puzzle, let me know. But that's it for the 3x3x4 Supercuboid. Next, we move on to another supercuboid, the 3x3x5, as we expand that, which you will find out and see in part 3. Thanks for watching.